Hi, today I'll be talking about Part 8, turning data into information, questions 76, 77, and 78. More in-depth about Part 8, question 76 is about presenting the data that you have collected throughout the study. Question 77 is telling a story with that same data. Then question 78 is just talking about the difference between mean and median and why it is important. So question 76 is, now I have all this data, what is the best way to present it? We're going to go over 6 guidelines on what to do with it. So guideline 1 is about telling the story of why. These examples below are studies from the Forsyth Library databases under the keywords mental health and TikTok. Looking at the first question, what is the importance to the study? These studies are important because of the significant mental health has on today's society and its potential impact it has going forward. Looking at the second question, what it made me wonder or want to improve some outcome. Focusing on this bottom right study, I want to know what is the vicious circle is and how to stop it. And this is just an example for these 4, and it can be different in your study as well. Just questions to ask yourself when going through your own study. Next is guideline 2, which is telling the story of how. As a researcher, you get to choose your approach to getting data for your study. For my mental health study, I chose a survey, which I chose because I thought the data would best defend my hypothesis. There was a wide range of answers along with both qualitative and quantitative data to help others understand the procedural components. This is where you can model good techniques to speak to the rigor of the project. Guideline 3 is about sharing your results. It is important to share summarized results of the study. 1, because individualized results aren't as helpful as a group supporting or denying original hypotheses. 2, it's important to protect the identity and rights of the participants. And 3, putting data into groups is easier than sorting it all individually. Guideline 4 is about drawing pictures in your study. This can be using graphs, photos, or other things. It is always a good visual for viewers to help them in a study. To the left is a bar graph, and to the right is a pictograph. That would both be a great visual for my mental health and social media study. Another crucial thing to put in your study is weaknesses. An excerpt normally found at the bottom of the study shows limitations in future research. So in this example from Forsyth Library, I found the weaknesses in limitations and future research. In these paragraphs, there are things future research of the same topic should know and things that the study struggled with. Guideline 5 focuses on your next step as a researcher. Many times you can find this at the bottom of a study under future research, shown here in the same example as the last slide. For my continued example, I might want to look into specific platforms and mental health. This is critical to look at going forward so your research can be beneficial to others. Finally, Guideline 6 is about asking for feedback. There is no right or wrong answer in a research project. Asking a professor, academic tutor is always a good option. Action research is communal. A community of action researchers is worth more than a sum of its parts. Moving on to question 77, how do you tell a story with the data you found? After collecting all your data, it's important to look at distribution. Distribution is the relative number of times each observed outcome is occurred in your dataset. Think of an ordered list, like right here. Let's talk about the 2 attributes of distribution. We want to find where the middle is, and B, how spread out the scores are from each other. These questions will help you understand the nature of the scores in their entirety, not just singular scores. Correct terminology is important through your study. These are some important ones to note. Mean is the middle of distribution, or the average, shown here in red. The median is a different estimate of the middle, the exact middle, shown here in green. Range is the isolation of the top and bottom score. For example, in this study, you'll see it in orange, 4 and 21 for dataset A, and 4 and 44 in dataset B. Standard deviation is the average distance from the middle to describe the spread outness. For example, the book used the mean as 50, the standard deviation 10, then 50, plus or minus 10, which makes a normal range between the numbers of 40 and 60. Moving on to question 78, what is the difference between the mean, median, and why is it important? Focusing back on the mean, it is generally an excellent way to estimate the middle. You're going to take all the scores in the dataset, add them together, and divide them by how many were in the dataset to get the mean. Next is an outlier. You can tell there is one because of the difference average between dataset A and dataset B. B is higher due to the 44 being an outlier. An outlier is a score 2 standard deviations from the mean. Be careful to look for them in your studies, as it can skew them. To prevent it, report data twice. To summarize about the transforming data to information, we talked about the 6 guidelines of presenting the data, the 2 attributes of distribution, and important vocab you need in your study, and then finally question 78, how to find the mean of a dataset and what an outlier is with its importance.